I saw an interview and you said your mum was in a band when you were younger.
Yeah.
Was that ever like, was it always your direction, or was it kind of just one thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was younger, I wanted to make $1 million, and then I decided I want to play music, which is nearly impossible to make $1 million. So I chose that path, which is, I think, way better for my sanity and overall well-being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's not a bad way to live. That's crazy. I mean, what kind of music were you recording then? Like when you came to London, what kind of music was it?
It was like just folk music, acoustic guitars and vocal. It was pretty basic. Just a couple acoustic guitars and vocals, maybe some harmonies or something like that.
Wait, when would this have been? What year?
That was 2001, I think.
Right.
So a long time ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it set the foundation, man. I mean, that's what got it all going right there.
So you have the UK to thank for the Brothers Comatose, is that?
I do. Liam Gallagher and all the people that work at that pub. Yeah.
I can see the resemblance between the Oasis and the Brothers Comatose.
There we go.
we need an Oasis cover song now.
Oh, dude, I fucking love it.
Well, I think we've already got into the podcast. I mean, we're basically already there.
All right.
Normally, I do an introduction, but hello, everybody. You're joining mid-conversation.
Will you introduce me to the podcast? Tell me about it.
Yeah. Introduce you to the podcast. Started it actually. Yesterday was 1 whole year of the podcast is 1 year old, 1 year and 1 day old.
Nice. Congrats.
So yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it kind of started off. I always wanted to go into music or film or something like that, and then, but where I'm from is very rural. It's like sheep and animals and farms. There's nothing. It's a load of country roads connecting villages. There's not really any, like, no one really comes from here. I mean, I think actually Charlie XCX comes from Cambridge and Pink Floyd, and that's like the two big. I mean, they are massive. That's not bad representation of Cambridge, but you don't. There's not really that many opportunities here unless you go to London or Manchester or Birmingham or somewhere for uni. And at that point, I wanted to get into music. Especially at that point, it was heavily music, and I was releasing songs on TikTok, not my own songs, but covers of songs on TikTok. And but whenever I'd look to see how to get there or how to kind of make the next step, it was always showing like take that, and it was never really telling you how people got there, or like the journey it kind of took. And especially at that time, I was kind of deciding quite late why, like, going into that, and that not many people that I was seeing actually started that late, and especially not from kind of nothing. And so I kind of DM'd a whole load of people asking to get kind of talk, recorded them. I think my first one was a guy called Sam Birchfield, an amazing folk musician. And actually, I'd been a fan of him for a very long time. So that was crazy. And it kind of just sprouted from there. 16 episodes in.
Awesome.
And yeah, I like gaining the insight, and I think journalism's pretty cool. And if I get to speak to my favorite musicians and whatnot along the way, then it's not a bad hobby. But yeah, welcome to an Anatomy of the Arts.
Thank you.
Ben Morrison of the Brothers Comatose. I had a whole introduction plan, but we kind of got straight into it, and that's no negativity there. Obviously, well, now I know you started in 2000. You recorded your first little project. But when did you start experimenting with those bluegrass stylings, those Stringed harmonies.
Yeah, let's see here. That was probably not long after that. Mostly casual. You know, like you were saying, our mom was in a band. When I say our, my brother Alex plays banjo in the band. So he's my only sibling, and our mom was a musician. She knew a bunch of other musicians, and they started having these music parties at our house, like every month or couple months and stuff. And everybody would just be playing music in the living room, just kind of sitting around in a circle and passing songs around and stuff. And I think it was, at the time we were listening to, rock music, or listening to like Zeppelin and the Stones, and then like Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. And so we were playing, acoustic versions of that stuff in the living room. And then, but there were mandolins and fiddles, and somebody left a banjo there one time, and Alex picked up the banjo after one of those parties and just kind of started playing those songs. I think it was, maybe we started with a Zeppelin song or a Rolling Stone song, because there's some. Do you play guitar? So that if you tune your guitar to open G, it's basically like tune like a banjo, and that's what a banjo is.
Really?
Like normal banjo tuning is tuned to like open G tuning. So if you strum all the strings, it's just a G chord. And,
Right.
And a handful of Rolling Stone songs were written in open G. He just tuned his guitar down. And so we're like, oh, that sounds like Keith Richards when you do that. And so I tuned my guitar to open G. He tuned his banjo, had his banjo to that.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of started doing that and messing around. And we played our first like gig maybe in 2006 or so, or 7, and started to call our friends and like, let's get a band together. And then we had a bass player, mandolin player. So Alex played banjo, I played guitar. And then we put up postings around San Francisco, which was where we lived at the time, looking for a fiddle player. And then the guy that still plays with us now, Phil, he answered one of those postings up around town. So, yeah.
And where did the name come from? Because obviously the brothers.
This is another funny link to England. I was in London. This was after I had lived there. This is a few years later. I came back and was visiting. I think I was traveling with my girlfriend at the time. And I just like woke up one morning. Alex and I have been playing music for a while. I was like, oh, what if we called our band the Brothers Comatose? I was like, nah, that's a dumbass name. We're not going to do that. And then we had a gig. Then, we got back. I got home a few weeks later, and then somebody wanted to book us. They found our like website or something, and or I think it was a MySpace page at the time. And
wow,
like, hey,
really? Showing
that's how old school. That's how old this band is. And they wanted to book us for a gig. I'm like, we need a name. How about the Brothers Comatose? And we're like, I guess we'll just do that for now, and then we'll change it later. And then we just like couldn't find anything better.
And the rest is history.
Yeah, totally.
Roll credits. Are you a full-time musician now?
Yeah, I don't think I've had another job in probably well over 10 or 12 years or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've always been interested about this, because obviously it's never really talked about. But what's kind of the most profitable thing for a musician? Because obviously there's tours and there's releasing music on Spotify, but for you as well, where's that main source of income from if you're a full-time musician?
Gigs. I mean,
really,
everybody has. There's different paths you can take. I mean, I have friends that they're really good at recording music and writing for like sync licenses. So they're hooked up with like sync license companies that will be like, hey, we need a song that sounds like the Black Keys. Can you get it to us by the end of the day? And they're like, yeah, let's bust it out. And they'll record it, and they'll make 10 or 20 grand off of a sync, like, minus.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
minus the sync license percentages and things like that. But and it's not always like that. It could be more, it could be less, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I have friends that have made a lot of money, like on beer commercials or whatever, things like
Right.
that are really good at that kind of thing. We are not really good at that kind of thing, but we make almost all of our money on shows.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and if you want, I'll just go like quickly deeper into it. But like the way our business is structured, we have, you know, we sell merch and all that kind of stuff. We get streaming royalties and things like that, and like merch sales go into the band fund, and then we'll get royalties off of that. So like whatever percentage off of each album sale goes to the people that played on that record.
Right.
So even people that used to be in the band that played on that record that aren't in the band anymore get royalties.
Nice. Okay.
Or that stream or whatever.
Nice. And when you made that jump into full-time musicianship, we'll create that word right there. Was it nerve-wracking?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I was waiting tables at the time, like being a server in a restaurant, and they were really supportive and very flexible with my schedule so that I could take off 3 weeks and then come back and then go right back into it. So it was great at the time, like, because I could go make like a little tiny bit of money on the road and then come back and then jump back into my job where I could like make actual money and then survive and then go back out on the road. And that's probably the reason why I was able to actually get started with this new thing and like get the band off the ground, because you know you have to play like a lot of shows before you can start gaining momentum and like getting fans and things like that. So,
and did the whole band make that leap at the same time, or was it kind of staggered for everybody?
I mean, everybody kind of was doing something different. Like our fiddle player, he was everybody kind of like had odd jobs, and he was playing fiddle with like some different orchestras because he's classically trained, so he was doing some of that. I remember our bass player at the time, who's not in the band anymore, he was teaching at our old high school, like teaching jazz class.
Oh wow.
When he was in town, and then I think that was it. So everybody kind of had, you know, like would just do some work when they were home to like make ends meet, sort of.
Right. Fair enough. And you did mention about the Rolling Stones. I want to bring it back to music. You've not really shied away from the influences of other people's music within your work, as in terms of like all the cover songs that you've released. I think, is it These Days it's the most recent, or Ugum, one of the two?
Yeah, These Days.
Beautiful song and beautiful cover as well. But you have quite a few songs that are released that are covers. What kind of made you want to split your catalog of music with originals and covers? Because a lot of artists are kind of quite protective of their own songs and not wanting to be known as that band that made Harvest Moon or whatever, or covered it.
I mean, it's really hard because we didn't have any intention of putting these songs out on like streaming services and stuff like that, but I think it was like it was a pandemic project. We were, you know, stuck at home and we couldn't go out and tour, and we're like, what are we gonna do? And then so we just started making videos. We're like, so we were putting out a record at the time. We're like, let's do make videos of our song or our original songs, and let's like do some covers too, and like just have fun with it and not really give a shit. And we're like, let's just call our friends up that are also stuck at home and just come over and we can and have some pandemic fun, you know. Like it was funny. It was completely not intentional. And then once we started putting them out, we just wanted to put them out as videos essentially, and just like something that people can watch. Like, okay, go to our YouTube channel. We got all these videos with our friends and stuff. Check them out. And then I think it was, Harvest Moon that really popped off, and people are like, you need to put this out on streaming services. And we're like, oh, that was right when Neil Young pulled his fucking catalog from Spotify.
Yeah.
Can't put it on Spotify after Neil Young just pulled it. That would be such a dick move. And so we like released it everywhere else. And then eventually, a few months later, I think we put it out on Spotify, and he put his stuff back on Spotify after some back and forth. I don't know why, but and it's just like, whatever, man. At this point, I don't give a shit anymore, and we're just like, we're gonna focus more on original stuff, but occasionally put out stuff on. We're gonna keep doing covers and putting them out on social media and stream and YouTube and stuff, but from now on, probably focus more on like original shit on Spotify and other streaming services. Because AJD, who it's like at the top of our Spotify streaming right now, is not in our band. I
was shocked by that when I first started deep diving into like kind of the band and kind of the catalog. I thought it was the Brothers Comatose and AJ Lee and the Blues. Something like, that's quite a long name for a band. Just keep going with all the add-ons.
It's a little confusing, but like I said, it was not really that planned out. It was like totally unintentional. She's local to us, and we just had her over one time. We had been making a ton of other videos with other people, and then this one just like we made it. We're like, oh, that's pretty good, and then all of a sudden we put it out, and people went fucking nuts for it. We're like, did not expect. Like, oh, we knew it was like pretty good, but I didn't know it was like gonna blow people away or something like that. I don't know, but
it probably worked in your favor that Neil Young pulled everything. Like, he pulled, I don't know why he did it, because I think when I first heard your song or cover of Harvest Moon, it was maybe like a month before I discovered Neil Young and his Harvest Moon. And then when I went to go search for it on Spotify, I'd been watching YouTube covers or whatever. It just wasn't there, but yours came up, and I think when did it release? 2022, Harvest Moon on Spotify. Yeah, because I have like a distinct memory of listening to that song in the summer, because it's a beautiful. I say the word beautiful too much, but it's such a nice song, and it's kind of different, but it's refreshing at the same time. And that's what a cover should be. And with Neil Young's Harvest Moon, it's accompanied generations through their life. It's kind of stuck with a lot of people. How does it feel now for you guys? You might not have given this any thought whatsoever, but your cover will kind of be this Neo example of Harvest Moon, and it will accompany a new generation, a younger generation throughout their lives. How does it feel knowing that your music has kind of had that impact on people?
Oh man, I haven't really thought about that. I try not to think about that kind of stuff just because it's like, it's, I don't know, potentially overwhelming in the music making process,
Right.
Like, yeah, it's hard. It's a hard thing to think about. Like, oh, okay, a bunch of people are going to hear this or whatever. Maybe they'll like it. Maybe they'll hate it. Maybe this or maybe that. Have you seen any of those clips of what's his name? The Rick Rubin talking about
I've got his book right here, The Creative Act, A Way of Being. Is that Rick Rubin? Yeah, Rick Rubin.
Yeah, I mean, the dude is fascinating. Like, I'm like a huge fan of a lot of the music that he's produced, like from Tom Petty to the Chili Peppers to Beastie Boys to the, all Slayer to, all sorts of stuff, right? And he's got no musical talent whatsoever. He doesn't know any theory or how to record or anything like that. He's just like, I know what I like, and I try to help the artist like make something that they like, essentially, right? And I keep like going back to that because it's hard to not let the thought of people listening influence you in the process, right? Because you're like,
Yeah.
are people going to like this? I don't know. Like, should we do it this way? Because maybe that's what people will, I think that's a shitty place to make music from. And Rick Rubin will tell you
Yeah,
that. Just
absolutely.
like, do what's true to you, do what you like, essentially. And then, and in doing so, people will hopefully like it, you know?
Have you struggled with that then? Or are you still struggling with it? Is it kind of now? Because, I mean, your band's formed in 2009, 2008, kind of that time.
Yeah.
You've been in the game for a long time. Has it gotten any easier kind of dealing with that kind of pressure?
No. I think because now more so than ever, I mean, more people we have more followers or fans or whatever. So I think it's always like there a little bit, but you just have to. So I guess maybe you just have to try, as we've always tried, to just do stuff that we like.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can try to like block out the noise and focus on that. Like we're going in the studio in 2 weeks, and I think we're gonna try to do that.
How long are you typically? How long are you typically? Oh my god, I can't speak. How long are you typically in the studio for trying to record something?
It changes all the time. I mean, we've done the first half of our record. We did it this last year, and so we're going to record the second half. I think we always do it kind of piecemeal. I have 2 kids. My brother just had a kid last summer. Our fiddle player has 2 kids. And so, and we tour enough already, or we tour a lot already, and we're trying to like do the whole, okay, let's not be gone for too long, or let's just do this chunk and then we can record another chunk. But I think what we've kind of figured out is that we need a day per song.
Right.
And then that will generally get us there at the end.
Okay. How many in this new album? How many songs are there going to be?
I think it'll probably be like 11 or 12.
Okay.
If all goes according to plan.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Is this a full? Because I know you've done albums in the past with 1 or 2 covers. Is this album going to be full originals?
Full originals, yeah.
Do you have a favorite that you've recorded so far?
Oh man, I don't know. There are a couple favorites. We actually just put a song out today that I wrote 3 years ago or something like that, and I hadn't intended on it being a Brothers Comatose song, but
right.
We live in California. There are a lot of fires in California, as you may have heard. LA is currently not on fire as much because they just got a couple days of rain a few days ago, but they were devastated by the stuff. But a few years back there was a big one in Northern California, not too far from where I live. And the year before that, actually very close to where I live. So anyway, it happens a lot around here. And I wrote this song about some friends that lost their house, and I just kind of put it away for a while, and then when we were talking about songs to do, we decided to do this one and get our friend Lindsay Lou to sing on it. And we just put it out today, but we just put it out on Bandcamp for now. We're going to put it on streaming sites probably in a few weeks or something like that. And we're asking for any sort of donations, and it'll all go toward Music Cares, which is like a musicians relief fund for those affected by LA fires. So that one's really it's beautiful. It's really nice. It's like a pretty song called Home Again. And Lindsay Lou, who's on it, she's fucking amazing. Her vocals are incredible. And so we do a duet on it. And so that's a current favorite.
How come it kind of resurfaced? Obviously the wildfires are there, but was it always in the back of your mind, kind of on the top of the pile for the next kind of song, or were you waiting for that right time to release it?
I don't know. It was just it wasn't intended. It was always like, oh, maybe this is like too sweet, or
Right.
I don't know, too like
No,
pretty.
yeah, I know what you mean.
But then again, if you go and look at our top streaming songs on Spotify, it's like, okay, there's Harvest Moon, there's
Yeah.
Morning Time, which is a pretty duet. There's I don't even know what else is up there, but it's like usually the
mellow
slower,
songs.
pretty
Yeah.
songs that like do really well on streaming. So so we were like, fuck it, let's just record this and get our friend Lindsay on it and see what happens. So,
And that's the thing, because the majority of your catalog, or at least everything outside of the top 5, top 10, are very fast paced. Really not intense, because it may sound bad, but like real dancey songs. You know, I mean, there's not really anything to compare it to for the UK listeners here, but foot stomping. There you go.
Yeah.
It is real fast paced. But even your own originals that are in the top 5 are more mellow. Does it ever? I know we've spoken about kind of the influence of the outside and the listeners and trying to block all of that out, but looking at those numbers, does it ever make you want to release kind of more slowed songs?
Yeah, I mean, I think inevitably we end up doing at least a few per album. But it's funny because during shows, people generally want to party.
Want a boogie.
So, yeah. So like playing those, the foot stompy ones.
Yeah.
At shows, people are like, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when it's when we play a slow song, it's just a mellower situation. And I think like more and more as people listen to those on Spotify and other streaming services, they like want to sing along to the slow ones. And so there is a place for that stuff live as well. But I think like personally, like we want to party a lot more.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So we want to provide that kind of atmosphere sprinkled with some of the slower stuff that people can sway to, sing along to. And if you're just waiting for the next foot stomper, then you can go to the bar and get a drink while
yeah.
But it's like, you know that band Trampled by Turtles?
I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're great. They write great songs. They're like super. They do like super fast and like 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 ripping rock and roll, punk rock kind of speed stuff down to like slow waltzy harmony, Beach Boysy kind of stuff. And when we were first getting going, we always had the slow ones, and then we'd have them on the set list, and then people would be raging at the shows like, fuck yeah, and then we're like, let's just skip the slow ones and just play the fast ones. But if you only play fast ones, like the fast ones don't seem it doesn't give you any context, yeah. And so you have to like, it took us a while to figure this out, but you like have to do this at the shows, or else you can't just turn it up to 11 and then just stay there all the time.
So, especially when you're touring, because you do go on, I mean, you go on quite short tours, but you do go for quite a long time to the average person that might not be a musician. Obviously, you're going to be wanting to play, because touring can be so, I'm guessing it can be so dull, especially the travel. Yeah. Is there any way that outside of your shows you kind of maintain, I don't want to say your health, but yeah, your health? Is there anything that you do or rituals that you do that kind of keep you steady, keep you?
Yeah, it's funny. We drink a lot when we are on stage in general. So when we're touring, it's like it's really hard to stay healthy. So I mean, I think we just try to like get as much sleep as we can. Try to go to the gym when we can to like balance the drinking thing out, because it's so hard. It's so fun to drink. And
if you want to just say that all you do is drink, you can say that.
Well, it's not like all we do, but it's nearly impossible. I've set out to do some tours where I'm like, I'm not gonna drink, or I'm just gonna drink a little bit on this tour, and then we're like singing songs about drinking, and then the crowd is like drinking, and then you're just like, fuck this, dude. I'm just gonna...
Next thing you know.
Yeah. So inevitably we just end up having a few beers, and then everything's good. But I think my whole professional musical career is like trying to balance that with like healthy side. I'm still trying to I don't know, man. I'll let you know if I find that magical.
I think you should release like a dedication post when you go for a full tour without drinking. I think that should be your next achievement. But we were talking about foot stomping songs. Is there a song for you that you kind of perform that you know will get the best reception in terms of everyone will be dancing, or is it always the same?
Yeah, there's two songs that elicit different results, and one of them we released about a year ago. It's going to be on this next album, but it's called the IPA song, and about drinking. Crazy, I know, but because we used to be sponsored by a pretty popular beer company. I don't know if it's popular over there or not, but Lagunitas. They're from our hometown. So Lagunitas, it's like huge beer company in the United States, at least. And they specialize in IPA, and they used to sponsor us. And we were touring heavily at the time, like 120, 150 shows a year. And they would provide 3 24-packs of IPA to every single tour stop we had. So we would show up in Dubuque, Iowa, and there'd be, what is that, 72 IPAs waiting for us. We're like, all right, let's go. And then the next day it would be the same thing. And that's a lot of beer.
That's
and we couldn't finish them all. So we'd like stick in the van, and then we'd be drinking IPAs in the van on the way to the next show. And then we'd show up, and then there's 72 more IPAs waiting for us. And then
Jesus
Christ. Anyway, it was like the best and worst thing to ever happen to us as a band, because we just it killed our livers. But like, it was so awesome to be sponsored by a beer company. And then eventually we just kind of got sick of it, and could only drink like shitty beer. And it was just better, like, oh, you can drink 5 shitty beers and like you're fine. You just have to pee a lot, right? But like, you can play your instrument and remember the lyrics and like still perform a show and not be like sloppy on stage. And so I wrote this kind of dumb song called the IPA song about how I can't drink IPAs anymore. And it's ridiculous. The lyrics are goofy, and people fucking love it or hate it. I don't know. If they sing along. It's really simple kind of song. So inevitably, like at shows, people are like dancing and singing to that one
with their IPAs in their hand.
Exactly.
And your IPAs in your hand.
Yeah. And then we also do a cover of Valerie that it's a slower song. People end up singing along to that one.
Absolutely. I think it's just because it's kind of very well known. I mean, you play Valerie, you go to anywhere in the UK, Valerie will be played, especially London. I'm sure you've heard that effect. No, you wouldn't have been here when Amy Winehouse, would you?
No, I think it was that was right before, or it was a little after we left. So
you need to come to the UK. You need to tour and do it.
We are. Okay.
Are you?
Well, only probably for one show. So I don't know. When is this going to come out, by the way?
Sunday.
Okay. Well,
quick turnaround.
Let me just see. I'm just going to, so we're going to play a festival. I don't think it's going to be announced by the time this comes out, in Europe, near Amsterdam. I don't think
you're really true.
What it's called yet. About it. But it's like a bluegrass festival, and we're going to be playing it. And my brother at the time, he's going to be staying in England, I think southwest or west of London, for about a month.
Okay.
So he, so we're gonna do this festival, and I think we're gonna play maybe a London show. We're gonna try to get a London show. So keep an eye out.
You need to send, before you announce the show, send me a message and say we're announcing it tomorrow, or release the tickets, because I need to be first in line for that one.
Oh, I mean, I'll get you on the list if you're gonna.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put you on the list for that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyways. Yeah. I mean, I'll buy you a pint. There you go. That can be.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, no IPAs. We're good.
No, only IPAs. No.
Yeah.
I'll get. What was the IPA brand called?
Oh, Lagunitas. Great beer company, except we just OD'd on it and we can't drink any IPAs anymore.
I'll import them just for you and have them waiting at your London show.
Yeah.
Turn around straight away. Well, I'm very excited for the London show. Lindsay, I'll take it back to music. Lindsay Lou, you mentioned that that's kind of your newest duet. But also in your catalogue, a lot of your songs, or not a lot, but a majority have other people, have other musicians on them. I mean, mainly the cover songs, but also own songs that you've created. How do you kind of determine that artist is the right fit for the song you're trying to play?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think as far as Lindsay goes, we actually asked somebody else first, and she's kind of famous, I guess.
Name drop.
And no, I can't. I don't think I can say. But she wasn't interested. I think it was kind of like a far reach style wise, anyway. And so either she didn't have the time, or it wasn't like sitting right stylistically for her. So but we like had connections, and we're like, oh, it'd be really cool if we can get this person on it.
Is she bluegrass?
No, she's more rock and roll. Yeah, so it was like it didn't. She would have sounded great on it, but I think like it was just a little bit of a stretch. So it didn't make sense really, and we were just like, so she said no for whatever reason, which is fine. And then when we were tossing around names, Lindsay came up, and we've done a lot of stuff over the years, and so her voice is incredible. And I mean, you can't get better than like a nice female vocal. That's just like the best.
So true. Yeah,
the best thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Like a pretty female voice is just like so comforting, and who knows where that comes from. I guess maybe it's like Freudian or something like that, but like it's just like your mom singing to you or something. I don't know what it is, but like she's incredible, and we're just like, this makes sense. And I think our voices fit together pretty well. So yeah, we hit her up, and she said yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to blow smoke up your ass, but your voice kind of fits with everyone that you've duetted with. I mean, I discovered today, I was kind of going through your catalog to make sure there wasn't any songs that I'd missed that I wanted to talk about, and I didn't realize you released, I don't know if you remember this, but you did a cover of River by Leon Bridges.
Oh yeah,
I forgot who. That was a beautiful song, and that's a song that's quite hard to kind of do a rendition of. But man, because your song pair, I can't remember her name.
Megan Maples.
It's such a good song.
Oh, she's so awesome, and that's a great song too. I mean, yeah, she is incredible. She's another local artist that we met through a friend, and yeah, she like hopped in and it was killed it. It was great.
Yeah. Now, with your music, it's quite hard, or it's quite normal for the storytelling songs to be kind of slow, mellow, because you're able to evoke those emotions. But you've kind of released a few songs that are heavy on storytelling, and it's kind of telling a story. Home Again, I'm sure it's kind of like that. Or it's kind of telling an emotion, but your catalog, for me at least, when I listen to it, it's kind of split between there's a story you're trying to tell or there's an emotion you kind of want to portray. And for me, it kind of normally fits in with the emotion you kind of want to portray is the faster paced songs. It's always kind of heavy on the composite, the layering. There's a lot going on that kind of makes you want to boogie. When is it for you that you kind of decide I want to create a story? I want to do a story. Is it hard for you to kind of go at a fast pace to create a story? Do you ever feel like it's hard for you to do that?
To tell a story in a fast song?
Yeah.
Or yeah. I don't know. I never really think about it like that. I kind of just feel it depends on what the story is, right? If it's just like
right.
if it's a sad thing or if it's a relationship thing, maybe it doesn't ask for that color or that feeling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're talking about whatever it might be that fits better with that sort of situation, then yeah, that's funny. I guess I never thought about it. Because usually when I write songs, it starts with acoustic guitar and me and just like humming something along or like making out bullshit lyrics or whatever. And then kind of from there, you just kind of like, you start to develop whatever idea. You're like, oh, that idea that I had or that title could fit with this feeling. And so I don't really think much about like the sad story going with the fast song or like or
yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I did want to ask you this at the very start, but bluegrass is not in the UK whatsoever, or at least it's not as heavy as it is in America. But also your music's not just bluegrass, it's folk, it's rock, it's kind of everything. How has America kind of influenced, or that American culture kind of influenced your direction throughout the years with your music?
How has the culture influenced our music? That's a good question that I don't necessarily know the answer to. I mean, I think it's inevitable that you put out an amalgamation of the things that you ingest, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like you are the sum of all of your influences, hopefully. I mean, so it just so happens that ours comes out through this like banjo, acoustic, fiddle kind of music. So it's like, even though a lot of what I listen to is like rock and roll, soul, R&B, folk, some bluegrass, it just like, for me personally, that's what a lot of the stuff I listen to, and it just kind of like funnels through this thing. So it's not super intentional. Like I didn't set out to become a bluegrass musician. It's just kind of that it worked out, which is really funny because we found a decent amount of success, like moderate success in this genre, because it's not like I fell in love with bluegrass music. My brother just happened to have a banjo and I had an acoustic guitar, and then we're like, oh, in bluegrass they do these really cool harmonies, like check this out, like, and then we started, oh, what else can we like pull from? And so it's kind of just what it ended up being by accident. And so I think over the years we just kind of pull from all these different directions, and then you just put it into this, no, I don't want to say formula, but like that's what we make. These are the instruments that we play, and so that's how it comes out, you know.
Yeah. And one last question, because I know I've kept you there quite a long time, but when you kind of set out at the beginning, obviously from London there was a big gap between, or there's London then to you and your brother making the Brothers Comatose, to recruiting your first kind of musicians, I guess you could say, recruiting. Did you ever think you'd kind of end up doing the kind of music that you're doing now back then? when you
No.
first started? No?
No, I mean, when I was a kid, or when I first started playing music, or like when I was like, I want to do this. This is the thing that I want to do. I mean, I thought I would be in a rock band. You know, I used to be in rock bands back in the day, and then this thing was always like the side project of those bands.
Right.
And then eventually I was just like, oh, this is the thing that I want to do. This is so much, I don't know, the brotherly harmony, the acoustic thing, the I guess like the rock and roll energy with acoustic instruments.
Yeah.
So that's
The perfect
so
combination.
interesting to me.
Yeah.
And not as done, you know.
I love that.
Yeah. So I don't know. That's kind of how it it all just happened by accident. Where to
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on, Ben. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and thank you
Likewise.
for giving me your time. I mean, it's a long time in the making. We kind of got in touch back in last July.
Was it? Oh man.
Yeah, yeah. It's been July, 8 months, 7 months. Yeah, it's got to be
Well,
7 months.
Well,
6.
I'm glad it worked out. You know, I get a lot of random emails, not from like necessarily podcast people,
Yeah.
but like, hey, you just don't know how to vet somebody, you know
Yeah.
what I mean, over email. I'm like, I don't know. We'll see. Let's just give this a shot. So I'm glad it worked out, and you're cool. So that it all
Thank you.
all good.
I'll add that to my CV, my resume.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you so much for coming on, Ben. And I'll see you in London when you're next here. I'll get my feet stomping and I'll start throwing beer at you.
Yeah,
You got to catch it mid-show.
I would expect nothing less in our first London show.
I've kind of bigged it up a bit now. But no, going back. Thank you so much for everyone that's tuned in. Thank you, Ben, again. And yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.